Trucker Dump, episode 200, the last episode.
Welcome to Trucker Dump, where you'll get one driver's insights and sometimes humorous views of truck driving and the trucking industry, and pretty much anything else he feels like dumping on you. This podcast is brought to you by AboutTruckDriving.com, resources to help you understand the world of truck driving through the use of stories and a pathetic attempt at humor.
Hey, Todd McCann here. But I guess if you've listened to any of the past 199 episodes, you already know that. So for those of you who have not been paying attention, this is the last episode. I did this podcast for 12 years. 11 if you don't count the last year where I didn't really do anything. So I started in 2012. I started the blog in 2009, turned into a podcast in 2012. It's been a good run. It's had been difficult at times. It's been a crazy schedule, as you well know. Anybody who's continued to listen all this time knows how sporadic it was sometimes being a full-time trucker and doing this podcast. But I do appreciate everybody who's sticking with me on that crazy schedule. It's good when your audience is a lot of truckers and they have the same job as you and know how screwy it is. So very patient there. I do appreciate that. The podcast never got huge. I had some big sponsors at one point, Volvo, Pilot. I never made a huge amount of money off of them because you have to have a lot of listeners. I probably had, after about a month of a episode being released, I probably had about 1,500 regular listeners. And I looked it up and I had about 234,000 total downloads. I'm not sure if that was for the entire run of the podcast or not, because I think I started using that service a little bit into it. I'm not sure if that's the total, but regardless, 234,000, that's nothing to sneeze at. I am quite frankly just humbled and honored that anybody wanted to listen to me talk, whether it was my opinions, the funny stories, just rant about something, just the fact that anyone wanted to listen, I do appreciate it. So if you are listening to this right now, that is you. Of course, I appreciate everybody who wrote into the podcast, who did guest blog posts, who was a guest on the show, anybody who contributed in any way, segments for the show, but it ultimately just anybody who listened. That's all that really mattered, honestly, was just downloading the episode and listening to it. I appreciate each and every one of you. Going forward, I'm just going to move on with my career at Walmart here and see how it goes. Hopefully, I will retire here. I hope all of you have a great career. I just want to leave you with just the advice that I probably gave the most on the show was just basically, as Bill and Ted said, just be excellent to each other. Just, if you don't want someone cutting you off sometime out on the road, don't cut someone else off in the same manner. If you don't want somebody blocking you in at a fuel bay, don't do it to somebody else. Just think. Use your brain and think, if I wouldn't want to be treated like that, I'm not going to treat the other person that way. If we could all do that, the industry would be such a wonderful utopia place. Sadly, not everybody does that. But you know what? Trucker Dump listeners, you can do it. I know you can. If you care enough about trucking to listen to this podcast all these years, you probably are already like that. And we appreciate you. Appreciate the job you're doing out here to just keep America rolling. And even those of you listening over in Australia and some of the other places, if you're driving a truck, it's much appreciated. I do know, of course, how stressful it can be, how much of a pain it can be, how annoying and just a hard life being away from home that much. And I appreciate each and every one of you. So I guess I should announce that finally the trucking ebook, Trucking Life, is finally available in audiobook form. I have it up on YouTube, and it will also be right after this episode in the podcast feed. If you're subscribed to the podcast, you should see it right up next. I put chapter markers in there and everything, so that's good. It should be helpful. For the YouTube, just look for Todd McCann on, just type Todd McCann YouTube. It will come up with the About Truck Driving page, and look for the playlist there, and I'll have the book there in individual chapters, 21 individual chapters, and the podcast will also be available there too. So if you're running into any new truckers who need guidance a little bit and you enjoyed the podcast, please point them to that, or the book as far as that goes. And of course, the books will still be available in ebook form. I can send you those for free. Just send me an email at truckerdump@gmail.com. Tell me you want the books, and I'll send you copies of both of those books and the little questionnaire I talk about in how to find a great truck driving job. Those books are still available on Amazon, Apple, and all that, but I've tried to make them free as many places as I can. Amazon won't let me sell it for free, so, I don't know why anybody would pay for it if you can get it for free. truckerdump@gmail.com. To all those who already bought the books, I appreciate it. If you haven't, go have a listen. Send me an email. Tell me what you thought, if it was helpful. And you can always use that email address just to reach out and say hello, or if you have a question about anything. I have learned a lot thanks to this podcast. I had to do so much research over the years, especially when the news segments started coming around. I did a lot of research on everything, and, had to learn the hours of service inside and out, and lots of different kinds of legislation and things like that. So I can't guarantee I can answer your question, but if you do have questions, feel free to send them to me at truckerdump@gmail.com. So with that, I'm just going to sign off here. Email's basically the best way to reach me, but I also have a Twitter account. I'm still calling it Twitter, even though it's X now. That's at Todd McCann. That's 2 D's, 2 C's, and 2 N's. The Slack group is still up. It's not much action going on in there. Same with the Facebook group. You can join those, but there's really not much going on in there. By the way, if you try to friend me on Facebook and I don't respond, don't take it personally. I have very few friends on Facebook. That is on purpose. I like to keep that really down low. Honestly, I'm kind of a private person when it comes to social stuff, which is amazing since I do a podcast and put out some YouTube videos. But, I've just kind of made a shift in my life where I'm just trying to just disappear. So we'll see if that happens. Also, I should tell you about truckdriving.com, the website. That will be up for not much longer, probably maybe about a month or so. I just got to get some redirects in there, so everybody who goes to abouttruckdriving.com or truckerdump.com will be transferred over to the YouTube page. And once that is all set up and it's going through smoothly on all the podcast feeds and everything, then I will be deleting that website. So that will no longer be available. So if there's anything you've ever wanted off of abouttruckdriving.com, you better get over there and get it. I don't know what you'd want, but it's there. You better go get it soon. So with that, I will just once again say that I appreciate every single one of you for listening. And I guess I just have one last bit of advice, and that is drive safe and stay out of my way. Seriously, stay out of my way.
Dog doesn't